I'm Elaine Sims. I'm on the campus of Saint Catharine's College here in the conference room at the Emily Hunley Library. I have with me two people today, Dr. Leah Baines, who's been on this camera many times since you came to Saint Catharine's, and one of our students, Shelby Floyd. Dr. Baines, for the people that have not seen the program, or even for the ones that have, let's refresh their memory of, you came to you're from?
I grew up in Louisville, but I've lived here in Central Kentucky for a little over 20 years now, Marion County and Boyle County.
Okay. St. Catharine's began the Berry program
in 2012. So I've been here for almost 3 years, but our program's only been offering classes for about a year and a half now.
Okay. The Berry program is something that's quite a distinction for St. Catharine's College to have. Can you kind of give us how did this happen that we were able, and I think, give our viewing audience the importance of the fact that we landed this project.
So the Berry Farming Program is based on the life work of Wendell Berry, who's a Kentucky writer and farmer, as well as a whole slew of other thought leaders in really about rural culture and about making sure that we have agricultural systems that are healthy and safe and which are economically viable as well as culturally viable. So he and his family have Wendell Berry and his family have a long tradition of working on these issues. His brother John Berry was the president of the Burley Tobacco cooperative. And Wendell Berry's father actually helped to draft the Burley legislation, so people will be familiar with the work of the Berry family even if they don't necessarily know that it was the Berry family that helped to institute that.
And when I heard that John Berry was a part of the tobacco program, I thought, well, that sounds producing, and I thought, that to me is kind of a contradiction because as we all know, especially the people out there that raise tobacco, it involved a lot of chemicals.
That's right.
But his big thing was when tobacco was taken away from Kentucky, how do these farmers survive?
Well, and the Producers Program was one of the only pieces of legislation in the United States that actually protected farmers from the market, and that's one of the reasons it was so important. It gave farmers some leverage, and it helped them to establish the prices, have a say in the establishing of prices of their produce, as opposed to the way that it's set up now. As we all know, farmers are obliged to take what they're offered, as opposed to having a whole lot of say in the pricing system. So that's part of the legacy of the Berry family. And then Wendell Berry has been a national and international leader in advocating for farmers and for agriculture. That, as I say, is healthy both in terms of the economic side of things as well as the cultural side of things. And actually I'll add the other, which is, of course, in terms of the natural side of things. So when his daughter, Mary Berry, who grew up on a farm, their family's farm family, generational farm family, and she and her, as an adult, she was also a farmer. As she got to a certain point in time at which she said, we need to do something here in the state as well as see how we can affect some change in other places. So she developed what is now called the Berry Center, and she's the executive director. And they're working on farm policy, they're working on farmer education, of which we're a component. They're working to archive the Berry family's, some of the Berry family's papers. Wendell's papers are at the Kentucky State Historical Society, most of them, but really working on multiple fronts to figure out how can we support farmers in ways that reflect what happened, from the 1930s, 1940s forward, with good policy and good local market systems. So one of their initiatives, as I said, is education, and they wanted to really have a part in revamping agricultural education so that it is experiential based as opposed to only or primarily being classroom-based, so it's a combination, that it's interdisciplinary, which means that it's not only agricultural science or only agricultural economics, so that a student like Shelby, who is majoring in one of our 4 areas of concentration, which is called agroecology, which is just a fancy way of saying that we're looking at agriculture as a process of, a part of nature's process, and how do we make sure that our agriculture mimics that process as opposed to being opposed to it. So that a student like Shelby, who's majoring in agroecology, has the opportunity to work on organic crop production, soil ecology, but also the business of sustainable agriculture. What are some of the others? Agrarian history, right? We're pulling environmental literature or agricultural literature that's also environmental literature. So you're pulling lots of different threads of what it takes to make a good, thriving agricultural economy, not just money economy, but a cultural economy. And you're bringing all that together in a way that's really holistic. And so many of the components of agricultural education now tend to be segmented so that you're either all ag econ, and if you're all ag econ, you don't know a whole lot necessarily about agricultural production systems. So the Berry family wanted to merge all of that, and they wanted to partner with the college. They looked all over at some of the most prestigious.
They did. I mean, the competition was stiff.
That's right. They looked at some of the what we would consider to be the most prestigious colleges in the nation, and they really, in terms of acclaim, what they really liked about Saint Catharine is the tradition of the Dominican sisters here, the real embeddedness of the college in the community, the 4 pillars of Dominican study and how that incorporates the community, how it engenders a sense of responsibility for the community. And they really liked the fact that this is a rural college. There are not very many rural colleges, and we are in the middle of a cow field, and that is perfect for the kind of work that we're trying to do. So that's the long story short of how the Berry Center entered into a partnership with Saint Catharine College to establish a college degree program that reflects so many of the values that the Berry family and the group of thought leaders that they have long worked with, that they embody. Before St. Catherine's got this honor, were you involved with the Berry family? How did you come on board at St. Catherine's as part as, I guess you knew they were coming here, that they had made that announcement? You were involved with them at all before that? Well, I became involved just before they made that announcement. My graduate work is, rather ironically, in light of the way that most agriculture programs work, my background is a little ironic. My PhD is in English. My area of expertise is in sustainable agriculture, cultural studies. My very specific study was in my dissertation work, thinking about how the concept of sustainability, which is something that is a kind of it's a buzzword now that lots of people aren't really entirely sure what it means, but essentially it means how do we make sure that we're using land in a way that won't make it harder for future generations to survive. That's the long and the short of sustainability. There are lots of other ways that you can kind of fill that in and flesh it out, which includes how do we make sure that we acknowledge that we are not just a part of nature, but that we are nature, that there's no distinction between those two. So that's one of the areas of research that I explored in my dissertation work, and really focused in on how we as a nation of people have been very interested in the concept of sustainability in agricultural practices, even if we didn't call it sustainability. We called it words like improvement or improved agriculture. We've used lots of different terms for it, but we've long been interested in how to make sure that we can pass our land down to the next generation and to generations after that.
So the program has been, the berry farming program has been here, this is the third or fourth year?
This is the third year.
Third year. The first year there was?
Well, the first year I developed the curriculum for the program. The second year is when we started offering classes. By the end of our first year, we had 4 students. We started off with one, then we got 3. And now we just added our 17th member to the program. So there are actually 16 students majoring in the program and then 1 student who's minoring.
It's great growth.
It is.
That's a short time for a new concept.
That's right.
Shelby Floyd is with us, a native of
Upton, Kentucky.
Upton, Kentucky.
It's a small town in central Kentucky, so not far from here.
Did you come to be a part of the berry program, or did you you came to St. Catharine's? This is your first year?
You know, this is my second semester actually here at the college and in the program. I kind of ended up here by accident, really. I was at Campbellsville University for 3 years. I was always really big in agriculture as well as athletics.
Your family farm? Did you have a family
yes,
farm?
ma'am. I was raised on an American saddlebred horse farm. We trained and bred horses. Highly involved in that. I actually won a world's championship my freshman year of high school.
What's the farm?
Wayne Ridge Farm is the name of the farm.
We used to be involved in that some. Okay, interesting. Okay.
So I won that my freshman year, and I went on to participate in FFA very highly. I really enjoyed that.
That's a wonderful program.
So college came around. I was a wrestler and a farmer. Not a lot of schools offer agriculture and wrestling, so I put my wrestling first, and I went to Campbellsville, and I wrestled for 3 years, and I studied education there, and I still do. I have a bit of a drive to want to be a teacher and educator. But so I was sick of school. I got a job offer. So I actually dropped out of school last spring and went to work at a native seed company. Roundstone Native Seed is the name of that.
Yeah.
And phenomenal work.
Where's that?
That's in Upton. That's
in Upton. Okay.
And they focus on native seeds and the implementation of those.
Interesting.
So we've got over 250 native species of wildflowers and grasses. It's a big company. Well, I'm working. I'm really enjoying it. I got to travel. I was meeting a lot of people, but I decided I kind of needed to go back to school because I'd heard about the wrestling program. Saint Catharine just started a wrestling program this year, and the head coach was actually one of my teammates at Campbellsville. He was a senior when I was a freshman, so I knew him slightly. And the assistant coach was my old high school coach. So they're calling me, come wrestle, come to St. Catharine, come look at it. And I still had not heard anything about the berry farming program. So I'm looking around. I come over here. I talk to coach. I'm like, yes. I talked to the registrar, talked to her. I still had no idea about the farming program. Well, I'm still deciding whether or not it's what I want to do, and my mother and I sit down and we find the berry farming program. Had to look up what agrarianism was. It's farming and ecological agrarianism, so it's quite a mouthful.
It's a mouthful. How did you find it? Did you saw it on the internet?
I was online because I was a little bit, I was starting to change my mind. I didn't want to go back. I was making money. I enjoyed what I was doing, and it's hard to walk away from that when you're still
and that's
so young.
That native seeds, the native grass thing is just popping here, but keep going. So
anyhow, I'm thinking about not coming back, but my mom, she knew I needed to be here. She knew I needed to be in school.
So you found out about the berry program on the internet, and then
she said,
and
well,
then you realized it was at St. Catharine's.
So my mom said, let's see what they have. But we looked around. She's like, well, here's a farming program. Let's look at it. So we start reading around. I call over here. Finally, we get in touch. It's late in the year. I mean, this was such a short notice thing. because just a few weeks it was just a few weeks from school to start when I decided. So I finally get a hold of her. It's late in the summer. She's busy. She's got people asking her all kinds of questions. Finally, we get a hold of each other. She gives me a little bit of a summary of what it is, and I said, sign me up.
Oh.
So, and I kind of jumped into it. I've been traveling some with her. We've been to a few healthy food conferences, this Harmony and Health Initiative, and I've really enjoyed it, and I've got to meet some great people, and really glad I got to get on board.
And the new person just signed up is also part of the wrestling
That's
program.
right. Yeah, Forrest Vaughn.
So people are finding the Berry program after they get here, but some people come here definitely for the Berry program.
Absolutely, yes. We have some. It just depends, and we'll take them either way because we're happy. We're happy to have people who represent a broad variety of interests. We have a student who moved down here in August from New York State who had studied Wendell-Berry as an undergraduate at State College up in New York. Found out about our program online, I think, and came down for a visit with her mother and in the last spring, and then moved here in August and started. So we're recruiting.
And the international. I mean, this is a program that affects communities all over the world.
That's right. Yes,
Africa.
we have students who are from 5 different countries: Congo, Tanzania, Burkina Faso, India, and Nepal. And then we have one student who's here who was born in in Barbados. No, in the Bahamas. Sheikh is from. Yeah, from the Bahamas. But he has lived in the States for most of his life. So we are an incredibly diverse group.
Did you ever dream it would?
That's what I hoped. It's meeting my dreams.
We talked about this in the beginning, and you know, but still getting the word out and.
Yes.
And you know, it's great that people from Kentucky are here, but then people coming from New York. You know,
Right.
it's just it's very exciting. It's very exciting.
Yeah, we're really keen on making sure that we have a good, diverse program and making sure that we have good representation from Kentucky, because that's so important to the work that we're doing to revitalize rural communities here in our state. So we do have a good number of students who are from Kentucky. We've got students who are from here in Washington County, as well as from Louisville and other counties further afield. So
I think it's worth mentioning that the Wendell-Berry conference was here. It's been 2 summers ago. Has it been 3 summers?
Yes.
And there was a wonderful
Spring of
interview that Bill Moyers did with Wendell-Berry, and I feel like the audience, Wendell-Berry, as brilliant as he is, and he would love for me to say this, he's plain as dirt.
He is.
I mean, he's an incredible man.
Right.
I think if you Googled that, you could probably pull up that interview and watch that.
You can.
And it's worth your time.
Absolutely.
And especially for anybody out there that's a farmer.
That's absolutely
But
right.
anybody, period. It was just, it was one of those moments, it was a goosebumps moment because it was just, he's just an amazing man.
Yeah.
The humility of this man who is so brilliant. And he told great stories about spending the night, you know.
in the Capitol.
In the Capitol and camping out at the governor's office and.
Yeah, that's
you know,
great. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah,
because for people
it's worth watching.
For people who aren't familiar with Wendell-Berry, the interview with Bill Moyers is absolutely a great introduction.
It tells you a lot.
And if you just go to, if you just Google Moyers and Wendell-Berry, the link should come up. And it's, I don't know, it's maybe 45 minutes or so.
Yeah, I think I'm going to watch it again.
Yeah,
but that was very exciting. And there
And
were
it's in
people
Saint Catharine
here
Hall.
from all over the world.
Absolutely,
It
there were.
was like, wow, this is happening right here,
Yes.
right here. And you weren't here. It
Not
was
yet.
so exciting. It was so exciting. And you maybe didn't even know. Did you know about the Wendell-Berry Did you know about Wendell-Berry?
No.
Okay.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I had no idea.
You know, some of your best gifts are right in your back door, and we don't know it. You know, it's just a lot of people. You know, just.
Well, I'd always studied, you know, bigger was better. That's what I'd been taught when it came to farming. It was industrialized.
Yeah.
One of my chapter leaders, my FFA, her husband's got a farm. I think it's about 7,500 acres. So.
Well, and the equipment that I see going down the road, the piece of equipment costs more than our farm. You know, costs more than our farm. It's just, and then it's just like, wow.
One of our, I think, biggest challenges is to figure out not only how to establish or create the conditions that are easy for people to establish small farms, but also how to really stabilize medium-sized farms. And most of the farms in Kentucky are medium-sized farms. But as Shelby points out, you know, it's becoming harder and harder and harder to become that kind of farm, to be that farmer in the middle, because the market has really, really pressured people to expand. And
when you're talking about medium farm, you're talking about probably what, 50 to 300 acres?
So that's a fair.
That's a good number.
About that. And it's interesting because I have been familiar with some of the first batch of students that came in, and CA was talking with several of them were talking about their parents. They came from Africa or Tanzania, and they had a farm. And I said, "So how big is your farm?" 9 acres. And I said, "Oh, wow, you know."
Yeah, different scale.
Different, yeah.
Very different
scale. But
scale.
they used every inch of it.
Absolutely.
And wisely. And wisely. Clean, hold it out with a, you know, with a by hand. Took out the weeds. We're here also, I mean, one reason I think many of you may know, but may not, Prince Charles was here with Camilla a few weeks ago, just
last Friday.
Last Friday. And when I heard that they were coming, I thought of you, because I thought they went to Washington, D.C. for 3 days, and then they came to Kentucky. And it definitely was, it was the Harmony and Health Initiative, and I thought, that rings a bell. I bet that has something to do with the berry concept. You all went.
We did.
You got to go.
We did.
Invitation only. How many students got to go?
We had 9 students altogether, and then 2 faculty members.
What an honor!
It was cool.
It was cool.
And it's one of many of the incredible opportunities that our students and faculty have had to enter into conversations with people who are changing the way economics works, who are changing the way that we think about the role of good, healthy foods in our societies. And we, earlier this year, we had full scholarships for, I think, 5 or 6 students and a couple of faculty members to go to the Slow Money Conference, which was
what was it?
It was called the Slow Money Conference.
Slow, S-L-O-W?
Slow Money. And it's about alternative forms of investment, so that everybody from, you know, the kind of average Joe can invest in sustainable food enterprises, all the way up to what they call angel donors, who are impact investors with lots of money to invest, who are willing to wait on a slower return on investment as opposed to this push towards quick, easy money. So that was a national convening that presented our students with some of the most innovative ideas and innovative practices that are happening in the U.S. And so when we had an invitation for the Harmony and Health Initiative, which was sponsored by a new institute in Louisville. I think this is their 1-year anniversary. It's the Institute for Healthy Air, Water, and Soil, that was founded by Christy Brown, who is also on the Berry Center's board. So
and she was a huge part of the Berry Conference.
Absolutely.
So she was very aware of the program here.
Absolutely. So she's on the Berry Center board, and she knows what we're doing here at Saint Catharine. And so she and the organizers made sure that they extended an invitation to us, not only to attend, but also to set up a booth. And we had an incredible booth. We piggybacked in with the Berry Center and had all of our materials together.
But what a perfect place to be!
It was
something like this.
It was an incredible, and the booth was incredible too. Katie Ellis and Mary Jane Yates at the Berry Center had this wonderful vision for a booth, and they had antique doors that were Den Berry, which is Wendell Berry's son, built these little what would you call those, like
just like holders.
Holders, yeah, so that you could stand the doors up and then put really nice frame pictures of the Saint Catharine College and our students, and then poetry and selections of writing by Wendell Berry, and then pictures of Wendell, for instance, when he met President Obama and Michelle Obama, receiving his NEH award. So this booth was just incredibly compelling, and everybody was coming to it, and we got the People's Choice Award unofficially.
Oh, wow.
But they made sure that there were certain booths that as the Prince came into the symposium, that he would be able to stop by and chat with the representatives at each booth for a couple of minutes. So Shelby had volunteered to serve as a representative for our students at the booth, and we had very strict instructions about no cell phones, no selfies, that sort of thing, and to shake his hand if he extended his hand, but otherwise to keep your hands on your cell phone.
I asked you last night if you had to curtsy, because you do. Anyhow, keep going, because you have so much to talk about here. So he came by your booth.
He did. He first talked to Katie Ellis at the Berry Center and asked he was aware of the Berry Center, and he was also, in fact, aware of our program, because the conference that you had mentioned, the Resettling of America conference, he had actually recorded a statement welcoming people to that conference.
Yes, I remember that now.
He couldn't come, but he mentioned our program in that statement. So he was familiar with the Berry Center, and he was familiar with the Saint Catharine College program. And he and Wendell Berry have been longtime colleagues and correspondents. And so they have a mutual respect for the work that each of them have engaged. So it was really nice for him to stop by and say a few words. He asked Shelby about, what did he ask you about?
He just asked me about whether or not I was a young farmer, and I told him I in fact was, and had a horse farm, and he was very interested in that. He was interested in horses.
His mother's very into thoroughbreds.
So he asked me about what type of horses I had, and if I planned to keep my horses once I made the switch over to sustainability, and I told him I did in fact intend to keep some, not at the magnitude we have now. And he also asked me about certain things I wanted to implement on my farm once I had graduated and was settled where I wanted to be. And
quite a lengthy conversation.
It was
a very important person.
It was very, very exciting. I felt honored to be there. I just glad I got to go.
Yeah.
Just another great opportunity that the berry farming program has offered me.
That's wonderful. Gosh.
And he was very gracious. He put you at ease. He was it was a normal conversation.
Not what sometimes is projected. Not always. I can't say always.
And the room, everyone was. Sister Claire McGowan from New Pioneers, who was also at the event and took part in roundtable discussions with him, as a matter of fact. One of the ways that she described it is that everyone was on their tiptoes, being the best that they could be. And I think that was a really incredible description of it, not only because of high security purposes, but also to say, this is what we've been working on. Here's how we're embodying and living out some of the ideals of good, healthy communities that the Prince has been talking about and researching for 30 years. And so it was a real honor to be able to participate in that. And then also it was compelling to see that he was interested.
That's wonderful.
And so it was a great opportunity for us to reinforce the importance of the work that we're doing, and then to have such an incredibly influential leader yet again be reminded of why Wendell Berry's work is so important, and then how we're working as a kind of extension of that.
So the time of this, was it in the afternoon? Was it? Was this? It wasn't an all-day thing.
So the way that it was set up is that in the morning they had something pretty phenomenal happen. They had 26 people give 3-minute presentations about their work, within a 2-hour period. So 26 people in 2 hours had 3 minutes apiece. And I have a list of some of them. We had the U.S. Army Surgeon General, who spoke about the health initiatives that they're working on. We had the president of the American Farmland Trust there. We had two really incredible writers, Alice Waters and Eric Schlosser were there, talking about sustainable food systems. Patrick Holden, who is one of the Prince's, I don't know what's the right word, not informer, but advisor to the Prince.
His farm manager was there as well.
Oh, that's right. I forgot to underline that. We had Wes Jackson from the Land Institute. So some of the most impressive and influential folks who usually have lots to say had to condense that down to 3 minutes. So, and they did it. It was kind of rapid fire.
Kept your attention, I'm sure.
Oh,
wow.
yeah. It was a lot to take in 3 minutes, and then you're sitting there kind of trying to figure out what he just said, and someone else starts. So it was. I didn't take any notes. I should have, because there was no way to keep up with all of it. But yeah, it was.
I'm sure it was recorded, but I don't know. Maybe even transcribed at some point.
That portion was recorded, and I anticipate that it's going to be available soon through the Institute for Healthy Air, Water, and Soils network. So,
I mean, if they only had 3 minutes, they really didn't even have a lot. I guess they were you just followed them in the program, because they really wouldn't have tried to go through their credentials.
Oh, no.
That would have taken up too much time.
No, they didn't do that.
20 seconds is too long.
That's right.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that was the first part of the symposium. And at the same time, there were also roundtable discussions happening. And the day before, on Thursday, there were private roundtable discussions with these leaders who are sitting down together and saying, here's what we're doing, how do we take this to the next level? So so that was the morning of Friday, and then about lunchtime, the Prince and the Duchess came in and toured. Then there was a short program that followed that, and then after that, the Prince gave a keynote talk at the Cathedral of the Assumption in downtown Louisville. The first part of the proceedings were at the Kentucky Center for African American Heritage, which is an incredible facility that's down on 16th and Muhammad Ali. And then everybody went over to the cathedral, and then they opened it up a lot more to the public. In our row, we had some high school students sitting with us, and so the girl sitting next to me, couldn't see around a column, and I said, I think I can see, so we switched spaces, and so it was a really incredible opportunity for the public to come and listen to the really smart ideas that the Prince has been talking about for so long, and to hear a politician, someone who has such incredible political sway, even if it's a little different from, say, an elected official, right? To hear him say things that are they're so important, they're so right, to say things like all of our economy, all of the capital that we have rests on nature's capital, and that if we lose sight of that, we're in big trouble. It's refreshing to hear someone of that stature making statements like that.
I wish we could continue this conversation, but we have to wrap it up.
That I understand. We're grateful.
I felt like we kind of. I think we gave the public a pretty good view. You did great. You did great.
Great.
This
Wonderful.
woman is so brilliant. It's just hard for me to stay with her sometimes. But you were wonderful. And what you bring to this table, I mean, it's wonderful that you're here. You came as a wrestler. I touched your arm. I thought, wow, he must be something else besides. Although a good farmer and a good horseman, that develops a lot of muscle. I can vouch for that. But for you to be here such a short time. And my goodness, your world has opened up to a whole different.
It's unlike anything I'd ever been exposed to or even knew it existed. And like I said, I've been a farmer my whole life here, and small town Kentucky, and as closely related as you would think I and Wendell Berry would be, just no idea. And luckily, just by the grace of God, I'll put it at that I ended up here. I was exposed to it, and it will affect the rest of my life.
Well, Channel 6 is a small town station in some ways, but yet it's far reaching. And the Berry program definitely has some notoriety. Hopefully people will pull it up on St. Catharine's website. I mean, you do the berry farming program, that's where we're going to pop up.
Yep.
And I think for people that go to Channel 6 or whatever and watch this interview and then possibly make some inquiries. I mean, if you had seen this, maybe you would have investigated it. But again, there's it's wonderful to know there's young people out there that are thinking this way.
That's right.
Because sometimes I think we don't think that they're doing that.
And I do believe that is key, is appealing to the young people at this point.
And it's wonderful. I mean, I think it's great that you're concerned about it. I'm concerned about it because of my grandchildren.
That's right.
So I mean, so hopefully this opens up new doors for many people.
I hope so.
And be aware again, word of mouth, and just out there, call and ask some questions. Come see us.
Yeah,
come see
absolutely.
us.
Come
Leah's
see
a
us.
very busy lady. Dr. Baines is a very busy lady. But Shelby here would be a great rep to talk to.
Yeah,
And the students of the
absolutely.
program.
Oh, our students are great ambassadors.
So,
Come to campus.
great
If I'm not
ambassador.
available, they know the whole spiel.
Someone can show you around.
I
Someone
become
can
more
show
and more
people
excited
around.
about this each time we talk, and you're wonderful.
thank
We're
you.
lucky to have you. We're lucky to have you.
Well, thank you. I'm lucky to be here.
It's great. It's great. This is very exciting for Saint Catharine's College and for the future of our country.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet
Thank you.
you.
Appreciate it,
Thank you,
Elaine.
Leah. Thank you.